Alright, so how y'all doing? Uh, Today I'm gonna do a review of the documentary on Showtime. We need to talk about Cosby. I've actually literally just stopped watching it. It took me all day because I had to take a break. I got triggered a little bit at the beginning. I was like, okay, get it together. Um, I myself am a survivor of sexual trauma. So, just starting off, all of this about Bill Cosby shook me just like it shook most people in America, most people who grew up watching Fat Albert, watching the Cosby Show, Different World, seeing Bill Cosby all over the place. It's like, not him, can't be true, must be something. I was one of those people and I wrestled with it. I am an advocate for mental health. I am an advocate for LGBT communities of color, and I'm also an advocate for survivors of sexual abuse and sexual trauma. So for me, in that vein, I'm advocating Me Too. I'm seeing clients. I have my support group, and this comes out about Bill Cosby. And I'm like, should I say something? Should I not say something? Am I going to betray my race? I felt like that for real, because a lot of times history has proven that society put a spin on people to villainize them, and they may actually not have done anything, but they have some conspiracy against them, so they try to defame their name. They try to take them out some kind of way or even kill them. We've seen our leaders assassinated, and all these horrible things said about them to discredit them. So that's just my basic how I was feeling already about Bill Cosby and this whole situation before watching this documentary. I felt like I don't know what space to be in, but I have to be true to the advocacy. I have to be true to the victims and survivors of this incident. We as a society tends to blame victims and discredit people who come forward about stuff. Now, in another essence, you will have people who will claim to be raped because they're upset with a partner or upset about something. So you have false claims, you have real claims, and a lot of times it makes it so difficult to really understand what reality is. We can only take people at their word. I'm never one to say, oh, they just lying, they just trying to make it up. I don't know. You know, hey, somebody said no, it wasn't consensual, they're drugged. You know, it's their word. So anyway, back to the documentary. I really enjoyed the documentary. I enjoyed the timeline of how Bill Cosby evolved as a comedian, as a public figure, and how the culture, how society evolved during that time too. It started off in the 60s. Bill Cosby was doing stand-up comedy. He was pretty clean cut. He was the safe black guy that, many white people enjoyed watching. He was invited into a lot of spaces where black people weren't even allowed to be in because he was just that guy. He was Bill Cosby. They showed how he, in his acting career, got started, how he paved the way for black stunt doubles to get jobs in Hollywood. He did a lot of stuff behind the scenes. He wasn't, during this time, he wasn't necessarily the activist that was a public figure doing this. He kind of did his behind the scene. So Bill Cosby was painted as this family man that everybody loved, but he had some stuff going on with him. They showed about how he would frequent the Playboy Mansion, and there's another documentary that's out there about the Playboy Mansion, Hugh Hefner and all that, and something came out about Don Cornelius, so I think I'm going to check that one out next and talk about that. But this particular culture with the Playboy Mansion, the Playboy bunnies, women were put out there. They had to wear these little bunny outfits. They had to look a certain way. Their weight couldn't be, couldn't be no fat girls doing this. Um, some women appreciated it. They enjoyed working there because they made a lot of money. Some women felt like objects. They said Bill Cosby was there, and his first rape victim came from the Playboy, uh, whole Playboy bunny stuff, that whole mansion, that whole era, where he would drug people. He would drug the women. He would fix them a drink, put something in that drink. They don't know what's going on. Next thing you know, he's having sex with them. They vaguely kind of remember what happened, but they know that, I didn't consent to this. I was drugged. I was under the influence. Did they want to be under the influence? In some instances, they agreed to take whatever he gave them, but nobody agreed to be raped. I mean, come on. Yeah, give me the drink. I'm gonna drink it with you, cool. But don't fuck me. What's the problem? Okay. So they talked about this drink, Spanish Fly, some pills, drop, drink, something. And I remember hearing about Spanish Fly as a kid. I didn't know what the hell that was. But apparently, you would put this in a woman's drink. It would make her vaginal area disturbed, if that's a good way to put it. And she would want to have sex. It would make her horny. But then there was this doctor guy saying that it would irritate that area, and you would have to like get it wet or urinate on it to make it ease up. So in essence, a lot of men would use this to try to persuade women to have sex with them, to get them under the influence to have sex with them. And so what was interesting to me, even though they were highlighting what Bill Cosby did, the culture, society at this time, men were taking advantage of women. Now there were women who may have consented to some stuff, but there are a lot of women who did not. And there was nothing they could say or do. There was one of the ladies who spoke. She was raped, and she returned and went back to her job where Bill was, and met him and everything. And they're like, well, why didn't you say anything? And, they felt like, well, I didn't even know anything was necessarily wrong. Women were not, we were second-class citizens. We had no rights. People could just do what they wanted to us. Nothing you could say about it. A man could have his way with you, and then some kind of way it was your fault. And that was the biggest thing. And it showed how women were forced to be silent. And then the evolution of time, as time went from the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the thousands, that women were more empowered. No, you cannot do this shit to me. You're not going to drug me and just have your way with me and nothing's done about it. Too often we suffer in silence because people don't believe us, or the laws are written to where they don't protect us. One thing that I saw towards the end of the documentary, they had a statute of limitations in California that said you had 4 years to report a rape. Well, a lot of this stuff had happened like 20, 30 years prior. And so the women banded together to be able to get the laws changed. And as we have seen with the Me Too movement, women are standing up. Women and men and whomever have been victims of sexual trauma, or survivors of sexual trauma, have taken back their power. Society as a whole, especially the Black community, we do not talk about sexual abuse, sexual molestation a lot. This is often a family secret. Maybe we don't have a Bill Cosby type situation where some celebrity is doing something to us, but unfortunately, too many of us have had family members that have done something to us and we don't say anything. This could be our favorite uncle, our favorite cousin, our favorite whoever, our pastor. Okay? And this is the person that everybody loves and is such a great individual, and they would never do anything like that. I can't believe that. Don't say nothing because we don't want to tarnish their reputation. And that's real. That is real. That happened With Bill Cosby's situation with his victims, that happens every single day. With women and girls, men, it happens to men as well, boys, in our society. And I think it's time that we stand up, that we say something. You know, everybody loved Bill Cosby. Nobody wanted to talk about the allegations. People would rather just, forget about that and just think about it. He was Fat Albert and Dr. Huxtable. It's time for people to stand up and really take their power back. As a therapist, I have countless clients who have survived sexual trauma and molestation as children. Sometimes it's generational. It may have happened to their parent, it happens to them, and then has happened to their children. And this is something that we have to shed a light on. We can't continue these family secrets. We have to say something. What does a predator look like? It could look like anybody. It could be a Bill Cosby. It could be a R. Kelly. It could be whoever. There is no way to profile what a sexual predator looks like. If someone says this happened to them, you have to believe them. We have to take their word, and you can, take it up in a court of law and have that proven. I think a lot of times with children are afraid to say something because they don't know if they're going to be believed. They don't know how the parents will react. And this is those predators are so charismatic. Of course they have to be, because they manipulate you into doing things that you don't want to do. And then they have such a way of manipulating you, it makes you feel like you did something wrong. I'm the bad guy for some reason because I was molested as a child. And I think that we need to set the tone. We need to change the culture where people who have been victimized can be empowered to speak. Don't feel shame. It's not your fault that someone was sick enough to decide to violate you. You didn't do anything wrong. They're the wrong persons. Why do people do that? I don't know. I haven't studied that part yet. You can say because they have been victims of some sexual trauma themselves. That's possible. But not everyone who was victimized in turn becomes a predator. I think that there is some mental health issue there, whether they are sociopaths, whether it's some kind of trauma or something that they experience, whether it is sexual addiction, or whether they're just narcissists and they just want to feel empowered by sucking the power out of someone else. No matter what the situation is, we have to speak up. We have to say something. And this documentary was a good example of that. We need to say something. So that's basically what I have from the documentary. It was deep. It was kind of hard to watch. In some instances, I felt a little triggered. But for the most part, very interesting to see the culture shift. Women were treated one way in the beginning, then women began to gain their power. We still got a long road to go, still have a long road. But the more we can come together and use our voices, we could bring about change. If you have been a victim of any sexual abuse and sexual trauma, there is help out there. There are hotlines available. There are support groups available. There are therapists available. Talk to someone. If you're a kid, if you're under the age of 18, you're a student, you feel like you can't talk to your parent, go to school and talk to your counselor. Tell a trusted family member. Go to the police. Talk to someone, because you don't deserve to have someone violate you like that. So, alrighty, this was a deep one for me. It's your girl, Hill Arnica Lavlis, a.k.a. Linky Love.